welcome to the Huntsman World Senior Games Active Life. My name is Kyle Case, and I'll be your host on this amazing journey as we attempt to help you get the most out of your life. Joining me in the studio today is my co-pilot, Andy Groft. Andy, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Kyle. Happy to be here with you.
Well, thank you for taking time out of your day to be here.
It's
always a pleasure to be with you. Andy, when I started with the Huntsman World Senior Games, I was 33 years old. And this year, I just turned 40. So that's a milestone.
Time flies.
And time does fly. Yes, indeed it does. And I'm just 10 years out of being able to compete as an athlete at the Huntsman World Senior Games. But if there is anything that I have learned over the past 7 years or so, it's that when it comes to competition, it's really never too late.
Yeah.
It's never too late to get involved, to try something new, or even to return to something that you once loved.
And we've had a lot of guests here on this show that started late.
They've proved that,
That's right?
They've proved that it's never too late. Well, I was a wrestler in high school. I think you know that about me,
Yep.
Andy. I wasn't the very, very best, but I wasn't the very worst either. I won more matches than I lost.
I wouldn't want to go up against you.
Well, maybe you would, maybe you wouldn't, I don't know. But
I wouldn't.
I do hold the distinction of being the only Case boy who did not win a state championship in wrestling.
Oh.
And I got to say that hurts me just a little bit, but my dad won a state championship when he was a senior in high school. My older brother won when he was also a senior. My younger brother is a 4-time state champion.
Wow.
And then my youngest brother is a 2-time state runner-up and a 2-time state champion. So it's a family tradition.
Sure.
Wrestling is a family tradition. Well, last year, on a whim and on a wave of inspiration from our athletes, I ended up wrestling in our state games, which we call the Utah Summer Games.
That's right, yep.
And I hadn't been on a competitive wrestling mat in about 22 years. And I won't get into the details. That's a whole story in and of itself. But I had a ball. I just really, really enjoyed it. And last year, I admittedly was unprepared. I showed up the morning of. I was not in shape. My son was there to wrestle, and I just kind of walked on the mat and did my best. But last year, I made the commitment to get myself in better shape so that next year I would be ready to go.
Good.
Well, guess what?
What?
All of a sudden, it's next year.
Oh, that's right. They're starting right away, aren't they?
The wrestling event is this Saturday. So Saturday is actually next year.
Wow.
And as soon as I leave the show, as soon as I walk out of the studio, I'm going to go over to Pineview High School, and I'm going to weigh in for Saturday's competition.
Oh, congratulations. That's great.
We'll see how the weekend goes. But I know at some point, I'm not going to be able to walk out on a wrestling mat and compete. That will happen at some point. Either injuries or common sense will prevail.
Right.
But until that day comes, I'm going to give it a go. And speaking of giving it a go, we have in our studio today Joe Goodwin, who is the local distributor of an apparatus called Eliptigo. And welcome, Joe.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Thank you for being with us. We appreciate you also taking time out of your busy schedule to be here and spend some time with us. And we want to get into the Eliptigo and what it does and you know how it works and all that kind of stuff. But before we get into that, Joe, tell us just a little bit about yourself. Give us a little background on Joe Goodwin.
Well, it's funny what you just mentioned about wrestling. I also come from a wrestling family. So,
oh, do you? You look like a wrestler.
You know, it's being 5'1" and weighing about 100 pounds in high school, soaking wet. There's not a whole lot of things you can do other than wrestling.
There's only so many options available to you, right?
So, and I come from a family of wrestlers, and I've got a nephew up in Idaho right now who just took state last year and just competed again for the second time at state as a sophomore. And things didn't go as well as he wanted them to go, but we all experienced some disappointment. But,
sure.
You know, I've always been a competitive individual, and of course, getting out of high school and then moving on with life, you tend to not have too many opportunities to compete on a regular basis like we did in high school. But competition has always been something that's important to me, not from a standpoint of competing against someone else, but just competing against myself and always trying to make myself better in whatever I do. So, and just trying to stay in shape and keep myself motivated from a health standpoint.
But you have done some competition, right? You've done some road races, some cycling. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that.
So, we were talking before the show. I do come from an aviation background of what I did for a living, and of course a lot of sitting, a lot of traveling and things like that. And it came to a certain point where I thought, I need to get back into more of a healthier lifestyle, and picked up running again, and started getting into some running competitions, but.
So was there a moment when you just said, that enough is enough, and I'm just going to do it, or did you just kind of ease into it, or was somebody an example that motivated you? How did you just go from, I'm sitting all the time to I'm going to see what I can do. I'm going to see where I can go with this.
It was funny. I can still remember the exact moment. I was sitting in a hotel room, and I just ordered some room service, and I said to myself, this is pretty pathetic, and not that having room service delivered or anything like that is pathetic, but I'm 30 years old, and I haven't really been involved in any type of exercising event for a while. I'm putting on weight, and before I know it, I'm going to start looking like a bowling ball. So I just said, I got to get going. So I after that meal, I said I'm gonna start hitting the gym. And
you did finish the meal, though.
I did finish the meal. I'm not ever gonna let some good food go to waste. But started hitting the gym and then slowly getting back into it. And
Joe, I think that a lot of people listening, me included, our parents told us, they whined and griped about how it was harder and harder to keep off the weight or to stay fit. And then all of a sudden, like
and
Kyle was
saying, none of us believed them at the time, right? None of us believed our parents at the time.
And then all of a sudden, we're here, and some of us don't do anything. We want to. We think about it. We talk about it. But it's really a tribute to you that you made a decision to do something and just did it.
That really is the key to anything, is just, sometimes you may feel inadequate. Competition, sometimes we think we're always competing against somebody else, but really is just a personal journey. And I just decided it was time to get back on the right journey. So
just one quick question: Did signing up for a 10K or a 5K, did that kind of help motivate you to get out, or did you just start getting out?
I think it's always good to have goals.
Sure.
Goals help with the motivation process. So signing up for a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, whatever it may be, you have some sort of goal to work towards, and you can create the necessary plan to help you get to that point, just like anything in life. So
you kind of started out with getting back into running a little bit, you mentioned. What was the first race that you jumped into when you got back?
It was going to be the Zion Half Marathon.
Wow.
So it was going
to be.
It was going to be. And unfortunately, like you talked about, the injury bug just got me. I had some knee problems in high school, and those returned, about 2 weeks before the race. So.
Really? So you were actually unable to compete?
I was not able to compete, thinking it was just a minor injury, something that I could just take a few weeks off, but it turned into be something a
little more substantial.
Yeah.
Huh?
And that happens to a lot of people, I think.
Sure.
You deal with some disappointment and some frustration, but
Sure. So you're going along, and you've trained. Obviously, you're in training. You've trained. I mean, a half marathon is not a walk in the park. It's a race that's doable, but it's a challenge. It's a tough one, and you get 2 weeks out, and you realize you're not going to be able to do it. That's got to be a disappointment.
It was a huge disappointment, very frustrating. Of course, coming from my background in high school, I'm an extremely competitive individual, and I was always hesitant to get into a 5K or a 10K because I thought, well, I need to be in something a little bit more substantial.
Right.
And it was very disappointing in realizing that I might have made some mistakes along my training path, but it was extremely difficult not to participate.
So a big setback, but you didn't give up. You decided, hey, I'm starting down the right track. I'm on the right path. I'm going to keep on it. Did you turn to another sport? Did you turn to cycling for a little while?
I was on my way to kind of joining the cycling crowd, I guess, but
a little easier on your knees.
A little easier on my knees, something a little bit less impactful. But I've had some other medical conditions with my lower back and areas, and it was really tough to kind of hunch over and for long periods of time. So it was actually then through some research that I found the Eliptigo.
Well, so let's talk just a little bit about that. It's an Eliptigo. I'm assuming that it's built on the platform similar to an elliptical machine, which I'm familiar with, and I think many people are. But maybe you can describe what an elliptical is, and then kind of work into what the Eliptigo is and how it's different and how it maybe is better.
Sure. So the Eliptigo was actually designed by runners for runners. And the way I came upon it was I was looking on runnersworld.com, a unique site kind of geared more towards runners, and because I was just about to purchase an elliptical machine, and one of the writers mentioned the Eliptigo, and I went to the site. And what the Eliptigo is it's basically an elliptical machine that's tweaked just a little bit to more mimic the running motion, and it takes on the transient characteristics of a bike, so you can ride it outdoors. If you go to any gym, the elliptical machine is very, very popular just because of that low impact feature that the elliptical machine brings, high cardio workout.
And for those that for some reason may be unfamiliar with an elliptical machine, that's the one that moves your arms and your legs at the same time.
Yes, there's different versions of it. Some of the machines will move your arms and some won't. Some of the arms will stay stationary, but it's that machine that you get on and you wonder if you're going to be able to stay on for an extended period of time at first. And then once you get used to it, you fall in love with it, and it becomes your exercise machine of choice.
Well, as part of our overall health and wellness initiative at the office, the Huntsman World Senior Games staff, we actually have an elliptical machine that we keep back in the back room, and it's available to staff members to jump on to get a little workout if they'd like to. And yeah, I mean, there is a kind of a smooth, nice motion to it, and like you said, once you get used to it, the first time it feels like it's going to buck you off, but once you get used to it, it's a great piece of equipment.
Something that happened to me just maybe a year before I got married. So I'm in college. I wanted to run the St. George Marathon, and I was training in Cedar City, and if you know Cedar, it has some hills and things like that, and I was running downhill and hurt my knee, and every time I ran, it just hurt. And then I gave it 3 or 4 weeks off, and then I tried to run again, and it just hurt, and it would swell up. So I just decided, look, it's either jump on the elliptical, this is what I was thinking, or just stop altogether. So I started doing the elliptical. Felt a little weird at first, but I got used to it, and I just thought for the rest of my life my knee would be bad. So I just did it for about 2 years. And then one time I decided to go for a run after about 2 years of being on the elliptical, and my knee felt great. And I run 1 to 2 miles almost every day now, and don't have any problems with my knees.
Yeah, sometimes it's just a matter of finding something that allows you to just get rid of that impact for a considerable amount of time and let your body truly heal. And so.
So now this thing in the gym that many of us have seen, this elliptical machine that looks like someone's kind of running. Looks pretty low impact. And then you talked about this transient quality of the Eliptigo. It's like a bicycle. Yeah,
so basically it just puts that elliptical motion on more of a bike format and allows you to get outdoors and kind of perform that elliptical motion, but being able to ride it outdoors. And right away when I purchased the first one, I got on and just boom, I was out 20-25 miles with no pain whatsoever, and immediately I signed up for the Tour de St. George and was right back where I wanted to be, and that was competing. It was awesome. It just felt so good to be able to have something that gave me that runner's high, but without the impact.
So is it considered a bicycle? Do you ride in bicycle races, or do you ride in road races, or both? Or
yeah, it will be bicycle races. I mean, it's little bit unfair in a running race or anything like that, just because you can go so much faster. But the average speed for an average individual would be between 10 and 15 miles an hour, and it has between 8 and 11 gears on it, so you can ride it uphill, downhill.
So you actually do shift the gears on it.
Yeah, you can shift the gears. And
now, is there a seat?
There's not a seat.
So you're actually standing up.
So it is weight bearing. Yeah. So as far as caloric burn and energy output, it's considerably better than riding a bike in those regards.
Yeah, it would seem like the case. So that's interesting to me. I was not aware of the gear situation. I didn't know you could do that. So, but yeah, from a weight bearing on your feet and a full body workout, it seems like you'd really be getting one.
Yeah, it's an amazing workout. I was skeptical myself, but when I went to the website. When I was first researching the Eliptigo, I just was amazed at how many Olympic level, elite level athletes were using the Eliptigo for cross training. And so I thought, well, if it's good enough for the Olympic level athletes, then it's obviously good enough for me.
Sure.
So let's give it a shot.
So let's talk just a second about that. You and I just mentioned briefly on the phone when we spoke earlier that there are a lot of elite athletes that are using this. Give us maybe an example of an elite athlete, or well, yeah, let's focus on an elite athlete right now, and then if we have time, maybe you can talk about just a regular Joe who's kind of gone from, couch to competition or from injury to rehab. But start with an elite athlete, someone that you can kind of tell us about that's used the machine.
So probably the most notable just recently we had the Boston Marathon, and Meb Keflezighi, he won that in the male division. He won that marathon. He's a huge proponent of the Eliptigo. He's 38 years old. He's the oldest male runner to win the Boston Marathon since 1930.
Wow.
He was the silver medalist.
And the first American in a long time.
Yeah, in a long time. He was the Olympic silver medalist in 2004, and in 2009 he won the New York City Marathon. But he uses the Eliptigo 3 days a week, if not more, and
really?
he's a big proponent of the Eliptigo. It's a great cross-training tool for him. It allows him to do more cardio workouts throughout the week without the impact on the body, maintain that muscle memory, and it's a great tool.
So that's obviously a real endorsement, if you would say, someone who's been able to maintain a high level, professional level of athleticism at one of the premier, if not the biggest marathon races in the world, and to be able to continue to train, and I'm sure that he's able to do it consistently throughout his training season. That says a lot.
He's one of those guys that just talks about various keys to success. Being one is staying healthy, and the other one is that age is just a number. I mean, He's 38 years old, competing against guys that are a lot younger than him. And he said to me, we actually met him down in San Diego when we were down there not too long ago. But he said, never focus on your age. You may have to change things up. You may have to do things a little bit differently, but never focus on your age.
And I think that's one of the reasons that we do this show. One of the things that we have as kind of a constant theme is just we know that there are people out there that think, oh, I'm 35 or I'm 45 or I'm even 55 or 65, and they're thinking, it's too late. I'm out of my prime. But you're never too old to start, and it really does help your life. Whether you come in first or not really doesn't matter anymore. Now it's just getting out and being active, and
that's really the key. Is just don't focus on the negatives. Just get out there and give it a try, and you'll be surprised at what you can accomplish.
Excellent. Well, you've talked a little bit about your own story of kind of rehabbing on this apparatus. What would you call it, an apparatus?
When you first see
what would you call it? What do you call it?
We just call it the Elliptigo.
You just call it the Elliptigo.
You just get out and get going.
Yeah.
But
and do you when you go on it, do you ride it? Do you ellipт it? Do you what's the verb?
What's the terminology?
Help us out.
Riding it is just fine.
You ride it.
It is one of those things. When I first pulled it out of the box, I looked at this and I said, "Wow, this is kind of an interesting looking machine." But once you get on and you ride it for a little while, it starts to feel more natural.
Sure.
But it's very comfortable. It's very, very comfortable, and you find that you start wondering, am I really getting a great workout just because of how comfortable it feels? You don't have the back, the neck pain, but you find real quickly that it is an extremely good workout. Very good on the cardio side of things, and right in the legs, the quads, and the calves. You feel it real quickly. It's always fun when people come in to do test rides or demo rides to look at it and say, it's not running, it's not cycling, and okay, well, just give it a shot.
Yeah. What is it?
Yeah, they get on it, and pretty quickly they're like, okay, this is the real deal. This does give you a really good workout.
So anyway, like I was saying, we've learned a little bit about your story. Do you have any others, or do you know any other people who have kind of come to you in the same situation? I'm not able to run like I wanted to, or there's an issue that I'm dealing with, but I still want to stay active. Do you have an example you could share?
I do. And actually, it's funny. A majority of our riders here in southern Utah are over the age of 50.
Right,
they usually all fall under the category of, we used to run, or we used to do this form of exercise, ski, or whatever it may be, but due to injury or due to age, just the natural things that happen to us as we get older, we can't do that activity anymore, and they're just looking for something to help get them outside. And one particular lady comes to mind. She actually, we were talking about it before, she works over at the Live Well Center.
Yeah.
And she was dealing with multiple surgeries in her back and shoulder, and it was getting hard for her to ride a bike, and she was looking for something to help her stay active. And she saw either myself or my wife out riding, and so she came in with her husband, took a look at it, and fell in love with it. And she rides all over town now, she's everywhere. Just this morning I was driving along Riverside, and she was riding on the trail system, but she rides to yoga classes, Pilates classes, and she just rides everywhere. And
it's become her mode of transportation, basically.
But it's fun to hear those stories, and there's multiple stories that fall into that same category. We have another gal that lives up in Richfield, and she had a couple of kids, and never really got back into exercising, and had a father that passed away and went through some hard times, and put on some extra weight, and extra weight leads to sometimes frustration and depression, and
into other problems as well.
And she finally decided it was time, and she saw that online, the Eliptigo online, and came down and purchased one. And it's fun to get those success stories via email where, hey, I've dropped 20, 30 pounds, I'm happy, life is good, and it's very, very motivating.
Rewarding.
It's rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. So you own the distributorship or dealership here in St. George.
We do.
Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So for local people, how would they find you and go for a test drive or get, put their eyes on this Eliptigo? So
they can visit our website at eliptigostgeorge.com. Or they can come into our showroom. We have a beautiful showroom. We have a bunch of demo models that they can come and test ride. Of course, test rides are free of charge. We also have a great rental program.
Oh, okay, great.
People can come in. They can rent them for the weekend, rent them for the week.
Just really try it out.
Yeah, really try it out and get a feel for it. We're just down on Sunland Drive, so it's real close to the trail system. So
you just jump right on.
I've got a question for you, Kyle. Is the Eliptigo ever going to be an event at the Huntsman World Senior Games? Yeah.
Well, I've never seen one. I have to admit, I've not had a chance to see one, but I'm intrigued now. So I'm probably going to stop by your store on Sunland Drive. What's the address?
It's 344 East Sunland Drive.
Oh. Okay. And just take a look at it. So I don't know, Andy. I don't know. I want to take a look at it and see kind of where it goes. So when you say you've competed in the past, you've just signed up for a cycling event and then just rode. Now, according to those races that you've participated in, could you have conceivably won the race, or was it more for the participation, or?
If you're a strong enough rider, absolutely.
So the machine itself is not disqualified.
No, it's not.
They see it as a bicycle.
They see it as a bicycle, but more so they see it as a disadvantage because, being
it's a workout.
It's a workout. My wife and I actually just competed last summer up in Salt Lake at the Cycle Salt Lake Century.
Yeah.
So, there's people that are riding these things across country, doing some pretty incredible things. And
burning calories all along the way.
Yeah, we did a 100-mile ride, and it was extremely difficult. But
I would imagine so. So that covers us in the local market. For those who are maybe listening on a podcast, where would they get information outside of the area of St. George on the Eliptigo?
So they can go to eliptigo.com.
Okay.
And they can actually order online. They can get all the information they need. So either site, they'll be able to get as much information as they want. But if they're outside of St. George, and if there's not a local dealer in their town, then they can go to eliptigo.com and order one online.
Excellent. Well, that sounds intriguing. Like I said, I'm going to stop by and take a look. Now that I say that I've never seen one, I think out of the corner of my eye one time, I saw somebody riding through Santa Clara as I was driving by in my vehicle on what sounds to me like was an Eliptigo. I didn't know what it was at the time. It was kind of a stand-up. It looks a little bit like Nordic skiing, but that was probably it. Does that sound?
Could be. Now with the Eliptigo, you're holding on to handlebars just like on a bike, so there's not a lot of movement in the arms, but still gives you a great upper body workout, and even more so being weight bearing, it's a great core workout as well.
So maybe I was seeing something different, but regardless, Joe, thank you very much for being with us today. Great information, great story, and hopefully people can check it out on eliptigo.com and learn a little bit more about it and maybe get back into the swing of things.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, you guys. It's been great.
Well, that's about all the time that we have for today. Again, thank you, Joe. We really appreciate your time. Don't forget to join us next Thursday and every Thursday at the Huntsman World Senior Games Active Life on this very radio station. Or check us out on the podcast right on our website, www.seniorgames.net. That's also the best place to learn more.